And then one day you decided to get on a gun range. How does that happen? How'd you end up on a gun range?
I had a close call.
Interesting.
In the middle of nowhere, Montana. I just remember sitting in the passenger seat of the vehicle trying to completely disappear. I was so scared. Like, I wanted to melt into the seat. I remember my back pushing up against the seat, I was just frozen in fear. I remember thinking in that moment, like, I had my cell phone, but I had no service. I mean, options were running through my head, like, can I escape? If I escape and I run, where do I go? There's nowhere to go to, you know? And that feeling of helplessness was like a feeling that I don't think I'll ever forget. And the difference is now that no matter where I'm going, I don't always have a plan necessarily, but I have an idea based on where I'm going as to what I should have with me or what things are probable or likely versus not likely, you know, and just have common sense about it, which I didn't have before because I had no sense about it. Like, it never even occurred to me. Like, I was so naive back then. I never would have guessed that there were people like that on the planet. Like, I knew there were, but it never was a serious thing in my mind. You know what I mean?
But has anyone ever stopped and thought about what are we failing to do to reach people to where it almost has to come to that person fucking around and finding out, like, oh shit, that Lora chick or that Kent dude were right. I should have gotten some training. Why is it seemingly always inspired by a precipitating hostile and potentially dangerous event?
It's because it's not going to happen to me. Deep down, they don't believe it will. That's how I was. Deep down, I didn't believe it would or could. Intellectually, I knew it could or would, but deep down, I really didn't understand or know it. I used to really, really have a lot of shame about being different, and I really tried to conform to everybody else for the longest time. I just finally realized that difference in me is what makes me so great. It is the thing, the uniqueness that only I can give, that I can bring to the table. And that's been like a hard thing for me to work through and embrace. Like, to get to the point of not being ashamed of it for one, and then actually embracing it. It's like a whole big path to get there, you know? And I just can't believe that I didn't realize the thing that I've been trying to like repress my whole life has actually been my superpower all along. If you're new or watching this as a replay, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. Please subscribe on YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, Apple iTunes, and anywhere else that you can see me or hear my voice. If you don't want to miss another episode of Defenders Live, you can join our free community at defenders-live.com and become a free subscriber. Lastly, if you're looking for exceptional firearms or self-defense training, go to defenders-usa.com and look at their calendar to see what training is coming to you this year.
And we are live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 154 of the Sling'N Lead Podcast. I'm TJ.
And I'm Kent. And I can't believe 154 is a real number.
Mm-hmm. You almost have to take the shoes off to get to that one, Bubba.
Absolutely. Who do we have with us?
We have got the magnanimous Lora Thorson from Defenders Live. Lora, it is common practice, call it tradition, if you will, that the guest in the hot seat gets to answer the $1 million question. Who the hell are you?
I'm a lot of things. I wear a lot of different hats. I'm a wife. I'm a mom. I'm the voice behind Defenders Live. I'm a firearms instructor with Defenders USA. But if I had to narrow it down to two things that I think that I primarily am, based on my mission in life, I would say I'm a communicator. I care about listening to people in those various capacities, and I'm a protector.
Communicator and a protector. I like that. So wife, mom, business owner, firearms instructor, podcaster.
Yeah, that sounds really crazy when you say.
Again, speaking of running out of toes and needing to take off shoes and shit, wear many hats. That's
why I do the show in flip-flops.
You've been an instructor. You've been a trainer for about 5 years. Is that? I was tracking that from last time. That's correct. Which you're still relatively new comparatively.
Yeah.
So what was your thing that you were this passionate about before this? Before firearms training, or is this the thing that you've been most passionate about professionally ever in your life?
No, I've always been a business owner. So I'd say business I've been passionate about. And part of my business prior to becoming a firearms instructor was that I was a photographer. And I did a lot of event photography in the equine industry. So rodeos and bull ridings. And I did some portrait photography, but I really liked event photography because it was fast paced and it was really challenging to get the perfect shot. And so I know that it might sound silly that there would be carryover between a trigger press on a camera and a trigger press on a gun. But when you're shooting barrel racers in an arena and the entire pattern, I think, is between 13 and 15 seconds on a good run. So you can figure out how much time, each barrel is. It's not very much time at all. And I got it so refined down to the stride of the horse's feet hitting the ground at just the right time. I could see that in my mind as the horse was running. I could pace off the horse as it was coming off the first barrel. And between the first and second barrel, I could know exactly when that horse's front legs were going to hit the ground. And every horse's stride is different, right? But I use that now in shooting because if I can relax my gaze and just notice what the dot's doing in relation to the target, it's the exact same thing. It
also sounds an awful lot like a competitive shooter planning out a stage.
Yeah, I guess so. I didn't think of it that way. There's a lot of carryover, really, now that I think about it.
That is exactly what I was looking for. So normally, if we were ever any good at something else, we can find tie-ins to the stuff that we became good at now. Mm-hmm. And what you just did was an amazing job of relating the known to the unknown, because somebody may not have ever relaxed their gaze and seen a dot. Everybody's seen a horse run. And the way that you just described, I'm literally envisioning a horse's hoof striking the ground, and that in relation to when you're trying to catch a picture of it and everything like that. You just did a great job of visually creating a known to an unknown reference point and made it a tie-in to shooting.
I've never even thought of it before until now. So
There you go. Thanks
for bringing that out of me, Kent.
Well, it's not hard to bring it out of somebody when it's natural to them and they're a natural teacher. Like, that's the kind of shit we do on the range all the time, isn't it? You do that. Well, okay. Let's define who we are. We are professionals who enjoy this and do it well. We are not holding clipboards and whistles and screaming at people from a chair with a bullhorn. It's just a little different. My point is, imagine talking to a guy and he says, "Oh, golf swing." Yeah. And then in your mind's eye, you envision a golf swing, and then you try to relate shooting to it. Like, it's the same thing.
Yeah, totally.
So in that way, you just kind of put us in that mindset and that spacing. Interesting how you're able to do that visually. You can do it to somebody tactilely too. Mm-hmm. You make them feel something through describing a common feeling, like a paper cut or something like that. Like, everybody's had that. So you can kind of relate to people through that. It's pretty interesting. So you had a camera and a lens and all the things, and you were taking pictures of horses. And then one day you decided to get on a gun range. How does that happen? How'd you end up on a gun range?
I had a close call.
Interesting.
In the middle of nowhere, Montana.
Male students in your age bracket are often looking for a close call. Female students in your age bracket have already had one. Seems to be my experience. Do you mind describing what your close call was like? What happened?
I was working for a real estate company, and I was their assigned drone pilot for this land in the middle of nowhere that we were supposed to go shoot. And normally, this was the only time that I can recall that I was not alone. Thank God. Where we had to go, there were no houses around. There were no trees. There was no cell service. There was no way to call for help. There was not. I didn't. And at the time, I didn't even. And none of that occurred to me. This is all hindsight, right? But we were stopped by a person on an old dirt road in the middle of nowhere who was out of their mind, really mad, and really just looking for somebody to do something to. It was really obvious. Like, this person was definitely on drugs. And I just remember sitting in the passenger seat of the vehicle trying to completely disappear. I was so scared. Like, I wanted to melt into the seat. I remember my back pushing up against the seat, I was just frozen in fear. I remember thinking in that moment, like, I had my cell phone, but I had no service. I mean, options were running through my head. Like, can I escape? If I escape and I run, where do I go? There's nowhere to go to, you know? And that feeling of helplessness was like a feeling that I don't think I'll ever forget. And thank God it turned out that the guy, and it was a guy that was with me. Usually the real estate agents are not men, they're women. So again, I had a lot. God was definitely watching me for sure and putting me in the right place at the right time with the right person. But this person had de-escalation training, and he knew what he was doing, and he de-escalated the situation to the point where the guy drove off eventually, not without a couple of spots that were really dicey. And I was just frozen in fear the entire time. I maybe could have ran, but I don't even know where I would have run to. And this guy was huge. So anyway, after he left, the guy I was with was not sure that he was going to stay gone. And so he was smart and posted up at the top of a hill with his pickup pointed the right direction so that he could watch my back, literally. And if this guy was headed back our direction, he would be able to see him coming. And he did have a gun. So I tried to fly the drone. My hands were shaking so hard that I could barely even get the shots. But anyway, we did. And then we left. And I don't think that guy to this day really knows, the guy I was with, really knows what kind of effect that had on me, you know, and how thankful I am that he was there that day, because I shudder to think what would have happened if I would have been by myself, like I usually was on those kinds of trips. But he wasn't with me on that one because it was so far out there, and he was afraid I wouldn't even be able to find where it was for sure. So after that, I went from having, you know, someday I should get my concealed carry permit and take a class to I must take one immediately. I need to do it now. So that was it.
Is there anything, looking back, but first of all, I'm glad you're okay from that situation, that having gone on the path that you have been on, now that especially that you're teaching other people, do you often look back at that situation and think about, like, okay, now that I know a bit more about what I'm doing, I would have done the following differently? Do you replay it through your head, kind of you then, and compare it to what you know now?
Oh, yeah. And the difference is now that no matter where I'm going, I don't always have a plan necessarily, but I have an idea based on where I'm going as to what I should have with me, or what things are probable or likely versus not likely, you know, and just have common sense about it, which I didn't have before because I had no sense about it. Like, it never even occurred to me, like, I was so naive back then. I never would have guessed that there were people like that on the planet. Like, I knew there were, but it never was a serious thing in my mind. You know what I mean?
No, I know exactly what you mean. I am a firm believer that the vast majority of people who are quote unquote anti-gun or on the fence haven't fully comprehended exactly how ugly and evil the world can be.
Yeah. And that was just a small taste. I mean, it could have gone so wrong in so many ways. And that was enough. That small little taste was enough for me to be like, oh no, reality slapped me right in the face. So
that was your crescendo moment.
Mm-hmm.
Had you ever been that scared of another human in your life prior to that?
That one probably topped it, but if I would have been alone, that'd be a solid yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But before you had other experiences with other humans that made you fearful for yourself, is my point.
I've been around very unsafe people that I was extremely naive around. Yeah.
Okay. What do you think it is about? So maybe your moment, or like we all have it. We ask a student, like, why are you here? And they'll say, Bill, because I want to learn to whoop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doo. I'm like, no. Like,
shooter. Yeah.
Like, you showed up now for a reason. You and I talked about this on your show, but like, today's the day for you for a reason. What do you think it was about that harrowing experience with another violent human versus other potential bad experiences in your life? Was it the isolation that stood out? Was it the
utter helplessness?
Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I often wonder then why people experience, because we know victims of abuse and trauma and people who have 20 of your experiences, 50, 30, 40. And for some reason, now I'm going to change it. Like, now I'm going to go get help. This is enough. I'm not doing this anymore. I wonder what it is for that. Like, why, hey, I'm not going to let that happen again. Like, your choice was, I'm never going to let it fucking happen. Like, it got close to maybe sort of feeling like it might have happened. Mm-hmm. We have students who have had it happen numerous times. Don't let me put words in your mouth. I have had students who have had it happen numerous times. Maybe you have, maybe you have not. But like, in the industry, we certainly see this. I wonder what it is about those folks and that one decision point or that one thing.
I think for some people, it's the fact that they have kids now. I really think that's a good one. I really think that's a really big one. Unfortunately, I think there are too many people out there who don't value themselves enough to even believe they're worth saving. But when they have kids, they don't feel that way because they'll do anything to protect them. So at least they will come seek help for that.
Oftentimes, the female student will vocalize, I don't know if I could hurt somebody unless they were trying to hurt my children. Mm-hmm. And like, guys, those of you who are going to hear this who are not professional firearms instructors, like most of you, these are not like cliches we're speaking that are like, oh, this is a thing that might have happened one time, but we're acting like it happens all the time. I'm telling you that 30% of the female students that come to me say something to that effect. And it's not as though I teach, right. It's not as though I teach 2 women a year. I bet I teach 150 to 200 women annually. If there's 800 people that come through total, I bet at least 200 are women. It's not a like 1 in every 100 ratio or something like that. My point is, we hear it often enough that it's a thing. People don't value themselves, or people
and living in fear is a real motivator. It really is, you know.
Sure. And
I think not for everybody, but for a lot of people, there comes a time where just enough is enough.
Have we given any thought as I don't know what kind of conversations happen in the the subcockles of the back room of the instructor dinner at TACON, but has anyone ever stopped and thought about what are we failing to do to reach people to where it almost has to come to that person fucking around and finding out? Like, oh shit, that Lora chick or that Kent dude were right. I should have gotten some training. Why is it seemingly always inspired by a precipitating, hostile, and potentially dangerous event? Not, I had a really good conversation.
The same reason why people, won't eat right and won't exercise and lie to themselves constantly and justify everything they do. It's because it's not going to happen to me. Deep down, they don't believe it will. That's how I was. Deep down, I didn't believe it would or could. Intellectually, I knew it could or would, but deep down, I really didn't understand or know it. It's way easier. That's easier and way more comfortable to not to have to think about all the crap that could happen to you. Whether it's your health or whether it's your safety. It's way easier to just live in oblivious.
So it really comes down to an ignorance is bliss.
I think so.
Willful ignorance. But my question remains, though.
It wasn't bliss for me.
What can we, as in hindsight, it's not, but what can we as instructors, I'm reluctantly going to lump myself into that conversation. What can we do about changing the narrative in the ways that we try to reach people to convince them to go get, like, how do we do a better job with our talk track, the conversations?
I think, be honest, meet people where they are. I think just meet people where they are can do a lot of good, and not being the most important or the most knowledgeable person in the room, and like meet them on a human level and not on an instructor level. Do you know what I mean? It's intimidating to go to a gun class when you've never been to one before. And then you show up and there's like these guys in these tactical pants and stuff. And you're like, what the heck? It's intimidating. It's hard to just even show up. So the more I think, like what you were talking about, hospitality, Kent, whenever you're on my show, like true,
In terms of you and your involvement in the training industry, once you hit you had your moment in the woods or your moment out in the mountains where you thought
there were no crews. I told you.
Right. So you went to a concealed carry class.
Yeah, basic pistol, I think it was.
NRA basic pistol or something like that, or just.
I think it was through the state of Montana. I don't know if it's NRA or not. Anyway,
okay. Fair enough. How long from that moment, your first experience as a student in a class, until the time you were on a line teaching? How long did that take?
Well, there was a breaking in process because I was an apprentice for a couple years before I was running my own line. So I guess it depends on if you mean by myself or not. But
the moment you thought, here, let me change my ask, because that's fair. Apprentice obviously is a good thing. From student to apprentice, how long did that take?
That probably was a couple years.
2 years from the time you took your first class until you thought.
No, I didn't think anything. See, that's where you're wrong. I was approached.
Yep. This is where I was going, right? So
this was not my idea. No. Right. Yeah.
So who approached you?
The owner of the range.
Okay. And said,
have you ever thought about becoming an instructor?
And everybody worth your salt with common sense, you said, what the fuck are you talking about? Not me.
Yeah.
Anybody but me, right?
Yeah.
This is the story. We all have the story. Every one of us who's not the sit in the chair, holler at the bullhorn guy, every one of us has this same story. I'm just trying to figure out what your path to realizing, yeah, maybe me might have looked like. You know what I mean?
Took a while.
What came first, the skill or the imposter syndrome?
Right. Oh my God. Yeah, that's exactly it. That's literally the question. What came first, the skill or the imposter syndrome? Exactly. So you were asked to apprentice, and then you had, how long from the time you were asked until the time you were willing to give it a try was it?
Oh, a few months. I mean, yeah. I was excited. I was excited about it. I was very humbled and whoa, that it just kind of blew my mind. And then I thought more deeply about it. I'm actually, yeah, I think I could do that. I think that would be fun, but it was also terrifying.
So what was the first thing you did in a capacity of a professional as an apprentice? Did you help at a concealed carry class? Did you shadow a private lesson? What was day one? Can you remember it?
Well, I watched for quite a while, but when I finally did actually help, I was asked to teach a section of a PowerPoint, which was, I don't remember exactly which section it was right off the top of my head, but it was something short and sweet that if I messed it up, they could move on and, it would be okay. It would just be a bump in the road, but it turned out to be okay. And then as I kept proving myself, they kept giving me more and more. And then eventually that, ended up on the range. So started in the classroom though.
So you did what amounts to maybe 10 minutes worth of a PowerPoint session. So you did a 10-minute PowerPoint. The last thing I think you heard me say was you did a 10-minute PowerPoint.
Yeah, I did a section of a really long PowerPoint, and eventually, then it got more and more, and then I don't remember all the details, but how you would normally work someone in on the line, first RSOing, and I do remember the day that my friend Trish, she has a group called the Montana Maggies that she runs every Tuesday, and I was a part and still am a part of that group. And I remember the day that she told me, okay, you're running the line today. And I'd never run a line before. And I was just so terrified. Yeah, that's really cool to think about now because it just reminds me how far I've come. So, yeah.
So the thing I brought it up for a specific reason. How many of those, do you just remember the come down from the adrenaline, recession where you were jazzed up and you're oh shit. And then you do it.
Yeah.
How when's the last time you had that feeling?
Oh, recently I still get jazzed up. I mean, not in exactly the same way, but there's always a level of I freaking love that and I can't wait to do it again when I leave. I never come off the line, even if the class isn't that great. Like, meaning even if there are shooters that are like, whoo, we really got to watch them. You know, I don't ever come off the line and be like, God, I'm never doing that again. I always come off the line ready for another one. So
then you've never taught in a fucking driving snowstorm sideways with Tim Kelly and spilt coffee.
I have been in a class snowing sideways, and it was the best class of my life.
But did Tim Kelly spill his coffee?
No.
Because if Tim Kelly spills his coffee, it's going to be a rough day, Tater. Let me just tell you right now.
On himself?
It's just the lack of coffee given the cold and the misery.
Right.
We got back in my truck and he looked at me and he's like, well, thanks for inviting me, buddy. And I'm like, yeah, you're so welcome.
Yeah,
I'm
but those
so
are the
glad.
Memories you look back on with fondness, right? That's what I think. I think suffering with people is the best, most fun thing on the planet. It really is.
That's called trauma bonding.
Yeah.
Oh, whoops. Well, I love it.
So you took me as jazzed up. I should have maybe said revved up or maybe like terrified. Are you still terrified every time you teach?
No, I'm not terrified.
When was the last time you were
terrified? I don't know if I can do this. Terrified oh God.
Social anxiety or stage fright or whatever version, as compared to terrified, like this motherfucker's going to shoot his foot off today.
Right. Okay.
Which like twice a week. Like, yeah, that's different. Like that's a whole different ball game.
Kent's got a punch card.
I do.
Yeah, I don't know. I think once I got through, a half a dozen classes, the level of like just complete and utter, what the hell am I doing here, started to lift a little bit. Mm-hmm. But it did take some time, and mostly because I had support, I had encouragement, and I wasn't just like thrown in the deep end without any kind of support at all. I think that would have made it much harder. So
I'll be honest with you. I look upon this with like some jealousy. I never had that.
Very blessed in that way. Yeah.
Also,
I have people that have believed in me from day one who are still in my life and still like huge supporters.
In my particular stupid case, like somebody else asked me like, hey, will you do this for us? Right.
Mm-hmm.
But my dumb ass was immediately like, well, yeah, clearly that's within my wheelhouse.
Oh.
Remember, we're talking about young adult male Kent. I didn't get to apprentice. I have since, like I've now assisted and AI'd for and done things for other folks.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I started it for myself and didn't get to do it. I really enjoy asking these questions because what I do get to do is I get to make sure that our people have a different experience. Like my guys and girls will have a completely different experience than what I did. They'll have the opportunity to apprentice and to grow and to not get thrown in that crazily.
Mm-hmm. I think I might have quit if that would have been the case for me. I don't know that I would have continued.
Yeah,
Sorry, I keep rubbing my eye. I mowed my yard today, and the dirt got in it, and it just still is in there. And
Kent, did you not send her the show note or the preparatory sheet where allergies and basic human hygiene are not permitted here?
No, but we did have a phone call before the phone call where she told me she was going to, quote, go get pretty.
Yeah. Did you remember how I said I get pretty?
No. What exactly did you say?
I said I put a ball cap on.
Right, and you put a ball cap on. I was told, yeah, I think we're 3 for 3 on that. So you apprenticed and you apprenticed and you apprenticed. And at some point you became, in our vernacular, a primary instructor. To where you can provide your own content without overseeing and supervision. The first time you were a primary instructor, what was that like?
It was kind of fun and kind of terrifying at the same time. There was a huge responsibility. I felt a really huge weight of responsibility to get it right. And I spent probably the first 2 years on my own of just leaning into perfectionism and not able to really find my own voice or my own way and just copying other people because I didn't have my own way or style. And I was still sort of unsure of like who I really was in that space or why I was doing it. I think deep down I knew that I really just wanted to help people not ever experienced the kind of helplessness that I did. I think that was really the root of it. But the path to getting there was terrifying. And there was a ton of self-consciousness. And it took me a long, long time to get out of my own way. And I'm still struggling with that.
You don't appear to me to be a person who's in their own way. I cannot wait to see you teach. That will happen. I wish you could
have seen me even just like 3 years ago. You wouldn't have said that.
You never know, man. Like, we're different people all the time. Like, we will for sure share a range together. I will see you teach.
I would love that.
Like, that's going to happen. Somehow, some way on this universe, that will happen. It's always interesting to me when you see a person through something else, or a person through the industry, but you've never taught with them or you've never seen them teach.
Mm-hmm.
I love nothing more than to watch the moment somebody like sets into themselves and goes, all right, let's fucking do this. I love that moment.
Me too. Yeah.
The let's fucking do this moment is one of my absolutely favorite things.
Mm-hmm. Do you think though, like over time you get better at gauging that? I think I have anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You don't get on the podcast unless you get a pretty good gauge for that.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I get a bad read, if I think for a minute where I'm like, I don't know if this person can actually teach. Like, we're not going to come on here and talk about you teaching.
Yeah.
That's what we're not about to do.
Yeah, I love how it's like transformed over the years to where when I began, I thought my job was like to download all the information I know in my head into other people. Like, I thought that was my job. And now it's just like, I just like get to connect with people. I know I keep using that word, but that is the key. If I don't do that, I can't reach them on a level that matters.
Well, I mean, it's peeking into a bit of what your love language is.
Say more.
Absolutely. You
thrive on I'm willing to bet that you strike me as the type of person that you either have a lot of friends or you have a decent amount of super strong, like family level friendships, because you keep using words like connecting with people, right? You keep coming back to that as something that you thrive upon when you talk about the teaching that you're doing. We haven't even taught about the different types of courses you teach yet. Right, you consistently refer back to that connection you made. It's not a bad thing at all. As a matter of fact, it's an admirable thing.
Yeah, you're right. I have not a lot of friends, not a lot of close friends. I'm friendly to everyone, almost everyone, but deep connections with people are few.
Interesting. Okay, but you look to make those connections with the people you teach.
Yeah, but that's
maybe not necessarily. You're not looking to get added to their Christmas card list,
right? Yeah, that's a different kind of connection. Like being curious about people and giving a crap about them is different than who I let into my inner circle. That's a totally different thing.
Yeah, and agreed 100%. Here's the better way that I could put it. Kent and I have actually talked. More so, Kent has talked about this than I have because he's got the experience. But on several episodes of this podcast, he's mentioned that he's had a conversation with now the late James Yeager, and his mentality along what his relationship with his students is. I have to assume, and I'm paraphrasing, I have to assume that this is the only gun class that these people are going to take. Mm-hmm. I have a duty and an obligation to cram into them as much as I possibly can of the most important shit in that 8 hours so that they leave here as prepared as I can make them.
Mm-hmm.
That is a different type of connection. It is a connection, I would argue, right? I have to recognize these people are looking to me for help, and I might be the only person they ask for help. Mm-hmm. I want to help them as meaningful as I have, but the connection never goes deeper than that. It's transactional.
Okay, I get what you're saying.
Right. Mm-hmm. You are looking to make a connection and have a bond with the people that are coming to you to learn life-saving shit from. Right?
I'm not seeking it.
This is the way it strikes me. You don't have to.
I'm not seeking it. I'm offering it.
Yeah, Kent doesn't seek it either.
Yeah, there's a difference.
Yeah, he'll be the first one to cut a motherfucker off. I've watched him do it. Right?
Yeah, not everybody wants to play that game, TJ.
No.
That's not what they're there for. But there are some that is really what they need. They just need to really be seen and really be heard And if you do that and you create that trust with them, then they will go further in the class than someone else. It just depends on the person. Not everybody's there for that, but it's pretty easy to figure that out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they usually show themselves pretty quickly, to be fair.
Yeah. And I know how to handle the ones that aren't that way, too. It's not like everything is all like, deep and meaningful kumbaya stuff. And that's not always the case, but there's always something deeper going on. There always is. You can lie and say there's not, but there always is.
I think it's interesting, though, how much of yourself you end up leaving in a student on the range or in a classroom setting or what. Like you really end up, if as an instructor, I think if you're doing it right, you probably have given more than you've taken from most interactions.
Sure, you should. Yeah.
Until, and I know I have a uniquely biased perspective on this because of the sheer fucking volume of private lessons we do. But when you've had the 35th and 40th and 50th interaction with the same student this year, like frequently, like a lot of times that happens to you, you eventually end up in their deficit where you've taken more from them than you've given them in terms of like the social interaction.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, because you could become friends with them. Usually they wouldn't be coming back if they didn't like you.
Well, not only just that, but like they're sort of, again, hospitality and sales shit, right? Like you were asking me before on your show about like how hospitality and sales kind of wraps into gun training. I'm their Wednesday night date night, man. I might as well be the bartender or the server. Like I know all the shit about them and their families and their business and their lives and their interactions, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
It's gun therapy.
Exactly. And they all know a fraction of that about me, not because I'm keeping it from them, but because at least 20% of the words that come out of my mouth should have to do with something like a trigger or some shit. Like I have to actually do my job. Right. At some point, the waiter has to ask you, what the fuck salad do you want?
Well, isn't it ironic that the way you build a really good connection, or at least initiate a really strong connection with somebody, is by getting them to talk about themselves for about 20 minutes?
Most people are really, really, in my opinion, I think most people are craving that. I mean, I think most people don't feel heard or seen in their lives, and they just want somebody to listen to them.
100%.
That's a uniquely like non-gun thing. That has nothing to do with pressing triggers and
it's a human thing.
Right.
Humans are the ones behind the guns. The guns are just the conduit for what's really going on.
Well, unless you're the sit in a chair with a bullhorn and a whistle and a clipboard person.
Right. Then you never get the opportunity to go any deeper. And I'm not saying everybody should. I'm just saying I feel like that's what I'm supposed to do.
I love that. Yeah.
I look at it. I often hear my jiu-jitsu coach talk about the difference between an instructor and a coach. An instructor is just there to impart knowledge and talk you through a particular set of, biomechanical gestures and movements to accomplish a certain thing. Or to learn a certain topic, to master a certain skill. A coach is there to actually make you a better everything, right? A coach is going to care about you when you win or lose at that tournament, right? An instructor ain't going to give a shit. So a whole lot of instructors out there. We need a lot more coaches in our lives, yeah.
Well, that word, like even the instructor word, the NRA has some stupid number, 5,200 instructors. The USCCA has, 2,600 instructors. There's a lot of people who let me be clear with this. When I say this, I want you to understand what I mean. You, the listener, you, the fellow guests, whatever. There are people who do the instructor thing as a sort of to the level that I would volunteer at a dog park or a shelter or some shit. Like they do it because it's a thing in their lives that they feel like they should be doing because it's a good idea and it's helpful and it's my version of it'd be like maybe,
hobbyist.
Not even just no. Like there's some philanthropy to it. Like instead of volunteering to help build a homeless shelter, they're going to volunteer to go help at the range.
Okay.
Because they've got a level of skill or whatever. They feel like they should go and they should, all right, come on, let me go help these people. But they do it twice to 6 times a year. And they're an instructor, right? That person has a piece of paper that says they are a firearms instructor. And that is the word we have chosen to use for them. Okay. You have another person who maybe does it monthly or bi-weekly or something like that, where they'll be on a range for a weekend and they'll do a thing. And that's a big part of their deal. But the rest of the time they're doing something else. And then you'll have people who are living that, like they're in that life. Like this is their thing, that is their focus right now. It's a different level of involvement. Therefore, it's a different personal connection. Like you wouldn't, if not that I volunteer at church, because I volunteer at the damn gun range because that's the only place I have time to be and volunteer. But if I was to volunteer at church right now, the people who saw me 4 times or 6 times this year at church volunteering wouldn't really know a whole lot about me, because I'm sort of doing the thing that I feel like is a good idea in the moment, but it's not an environment I'm comfortable in. The range for me is like church. It's home. It's a place I'm absolutely, completely, entirely comfortable. Mm-hmm. This is my piece of earth. I feel good here. I can be myself, right? And Laura, I don't know if you do feel that way, that's cool. And if you don't yet, that's also okay. But like, it's a really, really, really cool realization when you feel like you found your place. Mm-hmm. Do you feel that way for yourself?
Oh yeah.
Isn't that so cool?
Yeah. It's like, there's this range that I teach on now that I haven't always taught at, and there's a whole long story behind it. I won't go into it, but there are particular places that I do feel more at home than others. And the home range for me is like where it's at. Maybe in some ways it doesn't matter where you're at, because I remember being at a Girl and a Gun and being in a class with like complete strangers, but just having so much fun that it didn't really matter where I was at. It was more about like who I was with was really important too. Like I did a really good job in Dan Brady's class, and I have this thing where when I'm full of joy, I cannot hide it, which is a whole other story because I used to try to hide it all the time, but I just can't. It just overflows. And I was jumping up and down. I was just so ecstatic. And I was in a class full of almost complete strangers. And I started high-fiving and jumping up and down at these people I didn't even know. And it was like my joy was infectious. Like you could just see them, and they were genuinely happy for me, you know? Like, I think in the past, I tried to hide that because I thought people would I don't want to be too happy, or I don't want to be too excited when I do well, because that's going to make other people be like, well, who does she think she is? You know, when the actual opposite is true. The people that I was with were ecstatic for me. And that was a really, really fun moment that I remember just from conference this year. And that happens more on the gun range than any other time. Bounces like Tigger. Yeah, that is what I do. And I cannot hold it back. It just comes out. Sometimes I do that before I get on the line because that's kind of like this excited, nervous energy. But then sometimes when I shoot really well, it comes out again. So it's just who I am. It's what I do. I have to get the energy out somehow or I'll explode.
So you're a Winnie the Pooh cartoon tiger with a gun.
Yeah. That is some real joy though, when you think about it. Somebody's so full of joy that they're like just bouncing. That's a really high level of joy.
Yeah, the last person that laughed that much with a gun in their hand had to fight Batman.
Yeah.
God, you're twisted. I wonder how you've translated that. Have you been able to allow your students that same space to be themselves? Mm-hmm. How does that come out of you? Like, how do you, are there intentional choices, or are there certain things you do to make sure that occurs?
I think that the most important thing I can do is lead by example.
Yeah.
And so like when I'm demoing or just existing in the world, leading by example is really important. And because I can say the words to people, but it's not always going to land, and I still do. I still encourage. I do say the words, but a lot of times I think just simply asking the question after you know they've done something they're incredibly proud of themselves for doing and they are on that high, just say, how do you feel? How do you feel right now? Like that by itself, you know, something that simple can just open the door. So
that's a very professional feminine version of my version, which is, don't that fucking feel good or what? Like,
yeah,
like it's such a cool moment when you bring somebody through that, or you help them reach a place of calm, or you share like a light bulb.
Yeah. But sometimes whenever I'm not confident on the range or when I'm doubting or something, I have this little trick I play in my head where I channel somebody who's got the mojo, like somebody I know, you know, somebody in my life that I love who's like really got that's really good at that one thing that I'm like doubting myself in the moment, and I can channel that inside myself and it works almost every time. It's so crazy. I don't know. Maybe I didn't describe that well enough, but
no, you did.
It's a thing. Trust me. It's a thing.
Yes, it is. It's a thing I used to do.
Oh,
I just decide now to be the person somebody else could channel.
Mm.
I've never let that feeling go since. I don't need to channel anybody else. Like I'm the person somebody else should be channeling. Let's fucking go.
Yeah.
That's a cool
I have
feeling.
that too. But I just realized there's like pieces of the people that mean the most to me in my life inside of me. And I just realized that as you were talking, I was just thinking about that. Like there is a definite, I don't know. There's a very real softness to me, but there's a definite like just badass in there too. I mean, honestly. And I can think of people's faces when I think of all of the different like facets of me, and they've all influenced me, you know, to bring that out in myself.
I can't even
describe. What's so cool about being surrounded by awesome people. Like everybody has strengths that I'm working on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you have strengths that other people are working on.
Yeah.
What are yours? What's your thing that, like, if I'm going to learn that one thing from you, what is it?
It's hard to put my finger on because I don't know how to.
It's hard to put my finger on because I'm so awesome that I have to go through this list of 10 things I'm so awesome at.
No, I'm trying to describe the one thing. I guess maybe at the base of it or at the core of it, it's probably the things that come easy to me that other people watch me do, and they're just like, oh my gosh, how do you do that? And it's just not even a big deal for me. I would imagine. Would you define that as a strength? I mean,
yeah. Give me an example of one of those things, though.
Oh, just like photography is one of those things, or anything having to do with advertising, graphic design, computer, tech savvy kind of stuff. You know, that other people are like, how did you do that? You did that so fast. And it's like, to me, it's not a big deal, you know? But as far as like, you mean like on the gun range?
Personality traits, something in your like.
You know, I'm totally unique, Kent. I am a very unique person, and I don't mean that sounded really bad coming out of my mouth, but I am really different. I used to really, really have a lot of shame about it, about being different, and I really tried to conform to everybody else for the longest time. I just finally realized that difference in me is what makes me so great. It is the thing, the uniqueness that only I can give, that I can bring to the table. And that's been like a hard thing for me to work through and embrace, like to get to the point of not being ashamed of it for one, and then actually embracing it. It's like a whole big path to get there, you know? And I just can't believe that I didn't realize the thing that I've been trying to like repress my whole life has actually been my superpower all along. And that's what I try to bring out in the show, is just like who I really am, and not a version of me. And that's hard because everybody does that in their life, whether you want to or not. It's just a thing that humans do. And you're like probably wondering what that thing is. Like I said, I think it's just like authenticity of being a freaking mess, being a mess, not being perfect, having a hard time figuring things out, and being okay with sharing that with people, not having the answers all the time. And I think that showing that is somehow maybe inspiring to people, because they're like, yeah, me too, you know? And I don't have to be a certain way or know a certain thing to be valuable in this world. That's my opinion.
I could not think of a better segue.
Into what? What could you possibly segue?
Oh, you just wait.
Just wait.
You just fucking wait.
I thought you said you didn't come prepared.
We don't. That's why I said just
wait. Yeah, just wait.
We're either going to need an alibi or an escape route. Just hold on and let's see what happens.
Just hang on. This is going to work. I swear it is. Guys, if you just heard that very, 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 very deep emotional honesty coming from a person who you thought was here to promote a training business and is really just being themselves and being genuine with you, you have now found yet another member of this continually growing fucking consortium or tribe or whatever you want to call it of other affiliated trainers and other people we trust. Let's be clear. I've yet to shake this woman's hand. I've not met her. I've never seen her shoot a gun other than on the grams to Instas or the books to YouTubes or whatever. And yet I can immediately tell that this person should probably have a following and a voice and should probably be educating others in this space. So if you can't possibly see your way to figuring out who you should train with and how, maybe somebody who's willing to be that involved and that honest with you would be a good fucking start. You can go watch 1,000 podcasts with a trainer bro, tough dude, or a QT2T gun bunny chick. I'll use those as our two stupid stereotypes, where they spend 45 minutes to an hour and 15 minutes reading their resume in depth and explaining to you how fucking cool they are and why you should show up on a range with them. And what Miss Lora just did is actually a no shit reason why I would feel comfortable sending Pat or Sophia or Charlie or whoever else to them. I'm naming mothers and family, by the way, like people I really care about. If you can do what you just did live on air, you can clearly run a gun class. Make sense?
Thanks.
Good. Then what the hell gun class are they showing up to when they get after they've gotten to know you? Where are they coming to? See, I told you I was going to segue.
Boulder, Montana, Southwest Montana.
Or maybe Lewisberry, PA, when we host your ass and drag you out here to teach a class.
Montana's way more fun than PA, even though I've never been there. I think Montana's way more
I don't think you've ever been to a gun class in PA.
Hold on. I've been to both places, and Montana is way better than Pennsylvania.
So Montana is.
I'm from Virginia. I really don't give a shit. But I've also spent time. I spent a week in Montana, and I want my ashes scattered in Montana. So take that for what it's worth.
So anyway, what I was trying to do is insinuate that we should perhaps get you out of Montana and get you out here to be hosted and seen by a different audience. That's where I was.
Fun.
There we go.
Yeah.
That was the world's best firearms training host in this entire fucking country offering to do it for you. If you weren't keeping track, we host a gun class like nobody's fucking business.
That's a solid point. Other instructors have left Yelp reviews.
Also true. So what kind of class are they coming to? Whether it's in Montana or Pennsylvania or Texas or wherever, if somebody's on the range with Lora, what can they expect? What are they learning? What are they working on? How are you helping them improve?
Well, I usually start with new shooters. That's kind of my bread and butter. I have handgun fundamentals classes, and then I take those shooters a little bit further and start getting into transitions and movement and a little bit of speed. So I do an intro to speed and accuracy class in the fall, and I do a lot of AIing with Adam on all of his classes when he comes up here. But I don't claim to teach those classes, but I try to get people ready for his classes is really what I'm trying to do. And
Adam, who is this Adam person that we?
Adam Winch. Yeah, Adam Winch is the founder of Defenders USA, and in my opinion, one of the top trainers in the country.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I mean, he ain't been on this podcast yet, so I don't know how.
You haven't asked him, have you?
I don't know how top he's. It's not the point, Lora. Keep up.
Yeah, you want somebody that has the technical skill but has the heart as well. That's Adam. I mean, for sure.
So you specialize in new shooters.
Mm-hmm.
I remember as a young ski instructor, I thought it was an honor and a privilege that they let me teach the level 10 classes, like the really good skiers.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was later told that the only reason we let you do that was because those people could have been teaching too, and the chances of you killing them were very remote. No, dead ass, right? Like,
that's a fact. Some of those new shooters, man. Whoo!
Okay,
you
right?
Be on your game. You really got to be on point.
I still won't go to a public indoor range.
So I'm going to tell you what, I really think the industry should flip the script on that shit and realize that the very best voices from us to the paying public should be the ones who are teaching the very newest.
It's a heavy lift.
Hirsch Gooden
class
is the
a
best.
heavy lift for many reasons. Emotionally, managing emotions is huge. Yep. Technical skills, safety, all the things. You just name all the things. They're all in that first class. And we have the responsibility of, like what you were saying, TJ, of making sure we're getting, if we never see them again, we have to do as much as we can. That's a really big responsibility for me.
I think we mix these metaphors though. Like, we should really be giving credit to these people. This Hirsch Gooden in my organization is the best instructor I have. Mm-hmm. My employee is a better instructor than me, hands down, left, right, front, center, all day, every day.
Well, and then that's the other thing too, is the first trainer someone has is their first impression of that world. So that's yet another really heavy responsibility
of our business,
right,
of our culture,
right,
of our pursuit, of our, if we are some sort of political wing or some sort of activist or rights, like who the fuck are we literally putting in front of these people? Who is it? Right? Is it somebody who's well-spoken? Is it somebody who's too gruff? Is it somebody who's too aggressive? Is it somebody who's too soft? Like, no. We have to match the instructor to the student. Right. That's which is a monumental challenge, given that as a new student, we don't know who the fuck they are. Like, they're just rolling in, right? Like, you're raw dogging these people. You have no idea who they are. You're about to meet them. You don't. How much research do you do on your students before they show up to the range?
I might talk to them on the phone or correspond with them through email. Yeah.
Right. We're supposed to claim James Bond shit. Like, we did a whole dossier on every one of them before they roll. It's fucking not real, right? Yeah. I have the damn resource. I could have TJ do that. Actually, TJ, start doing that in your free time, would you? Like, that'd be really exactly helpful. Looking up all the info about all the students before they show up to the range.
Nope.
You see? Right. Thanks. Super helpful. It's impossible. We can't do that. So what do we do?
You're at a gun class.
Yeah.
You worried about being attacked? You're armed.
No, I mean, how do we reach them? How do we teach them? It'd be
that part. That part. Hey, look. So Laura, you and I,
I don't get it.
So Laura, you and I didn't get a chance to get properly introduced. I'm former military intelligence, so when somebody tells me to look into somebody, I think background check and investigation.
No.
Apologies for not briefing you on that sooner.
No, I'm literally talking about, wouldn't it be cool if we could get a whole, like, this is Laura, she likes horses. Horses are fun.
We could ask that on the form when they sign up.
Yeah, and they're going to be so honest, right?
Right. That's what I was getting ready to say. Yeah,
they're going to tell us all the things. No.
But it could be facts, though. It could be facts, and some of those facts might give us information.
So you got to pull some, like, psychological profiling questions.
No.
So it's not that. You don't ask what's your favorite animal. You ask something. You paint a picture like, hey, hypothetically, if you were stranded on a desert island and you could only have one non-human living being.
No, you're taking this too far now.
No.
It's too far. You're going to scare them off before they even show up.
I'm just trying to solution the problem live on the podcast. Like, I don't know what the issue is, Laura. Why are you cramping my style? That's all.
I don't think it's a wise idea. I don't know.
Listen, I am a problem
They're already
solver.
Like scared deer when they get there, dude. We can't scare them before they even show up.
Mm-hmm. They're terrified, and they're not being honest.
With care, some of them, and even the ones that pretend like they aren't scared, they're scared too. So some people just hide it better than others.
I think it's interesting though when the new person who comes to class and isn't scared is the one that I'm like, oh, that's a fucking sociopath. Like, we're gonna have I'm literally like, oh shit, this one has murdered a puppy with a toaster. Like this, like you're almost certain of it. As you've developed a new shooter, though, at a certain point, you might catch a vibe with them the first time. Mm-hmm. You might start to figure out who they might be. If you're teaching a 1-day program, you got 8 hours to do this. 2-day, maybe in a 16-hour program, the morning of day 2, like 8:30, 9 o'clock on day 2, you might really have something going with this other person. Mm-hmm. But firearms training for new people is like speed dating with live ammo. Like, it's the most, nobody understands what this is like. Mm-hmm. There's all the social consequences, all the weirdness, all the like, I hope they like me.
I hope I don't mess this up. Yeah.
Or all the like pretend bullshit. I don't care if they like me. It's like, yes, you do. If you didn't care if they liked you, you wouldn't be out in front of them. You'd be somewhere else doing something else. Yeah. And you're, by the way, like, Glocks and shit, like, hey, they do have guns. They are real. We do need to watch them. And yet you now have, like you just said, the next thing, you just kind of took me down the next piece of this little rabbit hole, which is you're getting them ready for somebody else's class. You're preparing them for Adam or for somebody else.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be Adam, but yeah, the next.
I got you. Yeah, the next evolution. At what point do you feel as though you've prepared somebody for that? Like, how do you know that student's ready for a deeper, more involved class?
Well, that's a hard question to answer. There are a lot of variables. I mean, I think technical skill is one, but I think that their ability to learn needs to be assessed. Like, how quickly do they learn? How do they handle stress? All of those things are important. I don't want to hand somebody off that's like, all they can do is one thing or two things, but they don't know how to think. Like, if they can't think with a gun in their hand at the end of the day, like, I think that's what matters the most. So
how do you convey that message, though, if someone's not quite ready?
Convey the message that they shouldn't move on? Well, that's their decision ultimately. But if they ask my opinion, I'll tell them. So you're saying, how would I phrase that to them? Yeah, I'm curious. I would probably ask them a lot of questions about how they think they're doing, where they think they could improve, what their weaknesses and strengths are, see what they think instead of just telling them what I think, and seeing if that aligns with, where I'm at. And then if it doesn't, very carefully design ways to show them they're not ready for that. Put them in situations that demonstrate that.
So I don't want to say disagree with you. I'll differ with you just slightly on that. I really feel like a student should know where they stand when they leave a training. So I use like one of my classes, defensive pistol metrics, is that for like, you leave defensive pistol metrics, you're going to know exactly who you are as a shooter. And you might be crying. You might be crying. Hold on. Somewhat serious on that one. No. Hold on. How about this? You might be crying at the end of your first defensive pistol metrics class and then beat me later on in the tack-on pistol match. That's who you might be. That's who the fuck you might be, Bobby Price, if you hear this one. That's cool. Fuck yeah. Like, yes, good. That might be the result. But I promise you, that dude had a long drive to Ohio and knew exactly who the fuck he was on the drive up there. I'm not here to demoralize or defame or diminish somebody. I'm here to give that dude as much credit. Like, he got a result he did not like, and he went and immediately put action to that result. But for every him, there's another person who, with that same experience, would, fuck this, I'm going to golf. Yeah. Lie to themselves, whatever, do whatever they have to do to get through it. Or blame you. Or blame, sure, 100%. But I do feel the responsibility that even, like, it's funny you said, I literally also have a class called Handgun Fundamentals. Think about this for a moment. Just like ponder this for me. Find a way for them to really know who the fuck they are leaving. Like, that's big. You can't co-sign somebody and send them off into the world and be like, ass pat, you got it, you're going to be fine. And then they accidentally smoke somebody in a Walmart who doesn't need it.
Mm-hmm.
And you also should not pull the reins back on somebody who really had a future and a potential. But I do think we have the responsibility.
Instructors need to do? Instructors need to let people fail more often, I believe.
Please expand. I agree.
I'm thinking of a particular case right now, but
I was looking for that answer. So glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
I got to fix my camera, but I'm listening. Keep going.
There was a student in our 2-day handgun recently. And after day one, there's a certain level of competency you probably should have after day one. And really that competency is safety more than anything else. Skills.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But really day one is to make sure everyone's nailed on their safety. And not only that, but knows the condition of their gun at all times. That's kind of important. And I don't think that gets talked about enough either. And so on day two, in my opinion, that person at some point needs to be left to their own devices, not necessarily from a safety aspect, but from a gun condition aspect. And they need to learn that if there's a click and no bang, why is there a click and no bang? They need to learn that. And you can't get that through to someone by spoon feeding them the answer every time. And I see a lot of that on the range. And so I'm not saying that there shouldn't be some of that in the beginning, but after so many reps of that, you have to set your student free to some degree for them to make mistakes and fail and learn on their own. And I'm not going to lie, there was like a piece of me when I watched this person not understand the condition of their gun. I wanted to say, did you rack the slide? Is your gun loaded? I wanted to say those things and I didn't. I just let them holster. They pulled out the mag, put the mag back in, looked at it funny, couldn't figure out why it wasn't working, pulled out the mag, put it back in the holster. Next course of fire, click, no bang, same kind of, you know what I mean? And you can see the wheels turning. And eventually they figure it out. But on day two, I don't think I should still be spoon feeding people to rack the slide. Something as simple as that. Those are things I've learned the hard way in my training, and they definitely made an impact on me. Putting away an empty gun in a holster, if it's a live class, I get it if there's rules against that. But if it's a live class and you're supposed to be holstering live guns and you don't top off your gun, you're going to have to learn the hard way to top off your gun, So.
Or you just bring 500 Glock magazines.
Yeah, but you have to put the magazines in the gun. So there's that.
Yeah, there's that.
Yeah.
There's a difference. When I teach our guys this, and when I explain this to instructors, I call it sequencing. You can catch the person who's going to have this problem because they'll always be off sequence with the other 8, 10, 16 people that are around them. You'll always notice that they're a step and by the way, ahead is sometimes as bad as behind. They're always a step off pace with everybody else around. There's some social patterning to this. They're often that way in conversation. They're often a little late to a punchline. They're often a little early to a punchline. They're often out of sequence, just in general. Like they do the thing that makes sense.
Bags. And they
everybody else went to drink water and took a piss.
Yeah.
They went to check their cell phone.
Yeah.
Then drink water, then take a piss. And now they're scurry buttling around back there trying to get their crap together while I'm looking all majestic.
Isn't it amazing what you can learn about people on a gun range? It's amazing. Yeah. You really think about it. Yeah. Yeah. And it's hard to watch sometimes. They're like, I think the mom in me wants to go like, oh, help them. But nope, they have to learn. Like that's a whole other line of you can't do other people's work for them. I
will tell you though, the only place that I feel like we should be constantly interceding is we should realize that pressure and that feeling of always being behind is often a precursor to a safety failure. It's usually that person who's also about to gun juggle or 360 the muzzle.
Reading someone's can you feel I can feel it just standing next to someone. I can sense if they're breathing or not. I can sense if they're tense or not. I can sense if the wheels are turning or not, or if they're starting to glaze over. All those things they're probably the most important thing to pay attention to, besides finger on the trigger and muzzle. But, those are things I don't know if first of all, instructors, coaches, whatever, are they even, I don't think anyone's trained to even pay attention to that at all.
I can think of a couple instructor development classes to include the one Tim Heron and I teach together.
Okay.
Apache Solutions IEP and Range Master level and above, where everything we are talking about is discussed. Yes.
Okay.
Now,
good.
How many of them are doing that?
Right.
Like, how many people are going to that degree of professional craftsmanship?
It's hard to convey that. Like when I was saying, like, what's my thing that other people could learn from me? That's what I feel like it is. It's those kinds of things that are like intangible that like I don't even know for sure how to describe how to teach somebody that. Do you know what I mean?
I do. Okay, so I'm struggling with this with our instructor development class, and what I just gave you was basically a 2.5 minute talk track out of my instructor development class where I talk about like, hey guys, pay attention to the sequencing of the other humans around you. Mm-hmm. Their body language and their choices will show you their level of personal commitment to whatever the fuck you just told them. Mm-hmm. You could say any sentence, and if 11 people turn around and go execute, but number 12 is like sort of muddling their way through it, I promise you 10 minutes later, when somebody accidentally NDs into their foot, number 12 is a good candidate for who that was. It's not a guarantee. My man who's totally...
it's not a guarantee if there's like a physical impairment and that kind of stuff. But I get what you're saying. Totally get what you're saying.
Task loading a person...
Right.
Who's already mentally not the whole way checked in.
Okay, I see what you're saying now.
It's a great recipe for a fucking failure moment. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to take the reins off for a minute and let them fail. Mm-hmm. When my polite just recommendation to you would be if you feel that more than once or twice in a 20-minute period, you should probably reinsert mom mode to a degree.
Yeah, if they're overloaded task-wise. Is that what you're saying? Cognitively?
Well, they are cognitively overloaded if they can't load fucking mags, or if they can't drink water, or if they can't be standing where they're told.
Worse problems than that.
We're all that person.
Right.
We're all person.
I mean, maybe there's a physical problem or something.
Oh,
maybe
there are mental.
Maybe. Right.
There are mental impairments. There are physical impairments. There are social impairments. Mm-hmm. Like when I see a guy who's been doing this for 50 years turn and look at me and go, and like he'll literally do that. He'll sort of nod his head, and I'll be like, I guess I'm gonna hang out for whatever's about to happen here for a while. He's literally looking at me like, I'm glad you're fucking here. It's an interesting, cool feeling. It's kind of the ultimate in the like, I'm value added here. Yeah.
You have a lot to bring to the table, and people see it.
And when you are that person, that's infectious. And it's obvious even through a podcast or through a phone call or through the work that you put out. And as you continue to be that person, that's how you end up doing this for 3, then 5, then 10, then 15 years, and then turn it into a actionable business and have it make all your friendships.
Yeah, it's so crazy. It doesn't even feel like it's about guns anymore. You know,
it's not. It never was.
That's what's crazy about it.
We're all basically, all we really are is kids at a freshman dance with our like backs on the wall.
An adult body. Yeah.
Yeah. In a beat up old torn to hell adult body in 2 out of the 3 cases on this show. And you. But like we're just awkward little kids. We're a mess. We're completely fucked up. Nobody's normal.
No.
Anybody who comes off looking normal and is always normal and is always put together and is always squared away is an alien. Suspect as fuck. Like I don't want any of their time. Like I'm good.
I know. I totally get that.
But you've managed to do it in your show. What that is, guys, is a call to action. So you're going to give Defenders.
The website, you can become a subscriber at defenders-live.com. And I'll send you the emails. I'll just spoon feed you all the content via your email.
You're going to sign up for classes at Defenders USA.
Mm-hmm. Defenders-USA.com.
You're going to get out and train. We've blown her format way out of the water because this motherfucker is 2.5 hours long. So edit that as you will. God bless you. And from me to you, thank you for being another voice who deserves it in the industry. Thanks for being the right kind of person. Thank you for giving us all your time this evening.
That's all the time we have for this week, folks. Thank you all very much for your time and attendance and participation in the podcast. Lora, thank you so much for being a gracious guest and yet being another person that we have added to the annals of history and people that will put up with our bullshit. Thank you sincerely for showing up.